Welcome to episode 542 of the show. Today we're going to look at how to validate your business ideas using Traction. It's something that I've hinted at in prior episodes. Sorry, excuse me. I can't remember which one exactly, but I figured today let's go into it with a little more detail because that's something I've been writing about recently on my NairaLand profile. And in fact, the website NairaLand is going to be part of the case study that we'll use at the end of the podcast to show how you can use Traction to show that your business idea is achievable, is workable, sustainable, and that it's an idea that can grow. Now, when we talk about Traction, I'm sure you regular listeners will remember. Now, I've said that Traction is more suitable for app ideas or online ideas, basically businesses where we need to get sign-ups now and then we worry about monetizing later. And I think I gave as an example in the last podcast, or maybe two podcast episodes back, the example of Facebook, where in the beginning they were getting about 1,200 people every couple of days, every 1 or 2 days, and that was fine. For them and for the investors, they were going to worry about how they could make money off of this thing later on. But for now, it was just good enough that the site was growing in popularity to the tune of about 1,200 people every other day. So that was fine. That was good enough to show that this idea is workable. There's some demand for this idea, there's some use for this idea, and that it's okay to take the next step further to even validate it the more to see how this thing can work. So in Zuckerberg's case, I think first, I can't remember anyway, but I think first it was was it Harvard? Were they in Harvard? I can't remember anyway. Those of you who like to fact check, you can fact check later on, send me a message. So you start off with Harvard, and then later on you open up to another school, and then another school, and another school, and the process is the same. So just as with sales, it's also the same with traction. So we get traction on this level of the idea, we roll it out to the next, gain traction on the next level of the idea, and then just keep rinsing and repeating. So, with these examples that we've looked at so far, I'm sure you can see that it's not just for app ideas or online ideas per se, but Traction is a standard for growth that we use when we're trying to consider business ideas that rely on network effects. Now, network effects are built up when we have lots of people joining a network, using a service, things like that. And the idea behind network effects is that there is more value that is built up the more the number of people use the network. So if you're a wedding photographer and you're trying to apply your trade, then you get value in this sense because you have a skill set, you have some skills, and there seems to be some market demand for that skills. And that is the reason why you need sales to validate what you have going on, how good your wedding photography idea is. But if you're looking at a Facebook or an app or things like that, it's a different dynamic. It's now about how many people are using this app, how many people are using this service, how is this thing growing in popularity, and it's going to get more valuable the more the number of people who use it. So this is where NairaLand now comes into play. NairaLand is a website in Nigeria that is sort of like a blogging site where there's lots of news, journalism. Well, I say news. Some people say fake news. Some people say disinformation, misinformation. But that's bound to happen whenever you have a site that is what should I say, unmoderated, where people can put up anything pretty much. Now, I started writing on NairaLand last year because the site is very popular. I mean, not among the cultural elite, if we can put it that way, not among sophisticated people. But I figured that lots of people go there to get information on politics, sometimes on smart gossip or crypto, financial markets, religion, fashion, all sorts of things. People write about all kinds of things on NairaLand. And in my own opinion, the quality of writing on NairaLand is not that high. I don't think we have lots of intelligent and sharp chaps or girls putting up good things that are worth reading, because a lot of it there's clickbaity titles and things of that nature. So I figured, since I'm already blogging regularly on my own blog, I figured that there might be a demand. Okay, maybe not. Okay, demand is too strong a word. I figured there might be some people who would be happy to receive the kind of content that I write on a site like Nairaland, because I figured that on Nairaland, what I write about might come across as real, nice, professional, polished, and a breath of fresh air. So excuse me. So that's how I started writing on Nairaland. Now, Nairaland currently has about 2.9 million signups. Those are the figures that they have provided. I know that that doesn't seem like a lot in a country that has over 200 million people. Well, we hear different statistics. I think at the last census that was done back when I was in university, the last recognized census, I think back then we were 150 million or something. And so people now extrapolate that we should have about 200 million, sorry, 200 million or 250 million people in Nigeria. So currently, Nairaland has 2.9 million signups, and the number of topics that have been written on Nairaland so far are at 7.2 million and counting, because the number of topics increase every day. The number of topics, the number of articles, and that's because you have some people like me who make it a habit of writing every day. And like I said, the number of things that people write on can be politics, gossip, crypto, religion, fashion. What else? In fact, on the political front, there's a lot of stuff on Nairaland right now. About the presidential candidates, because we have three strong horses in the race to be president in this year in 2023, and so there's a lot daily coming up on Nairaland about these sorts of things. Now, where was I? Okay, so for the wedding photographer, it's a simple thing. With my style of wedding photography, do people find what I do desirable? After I've spoken to friends, family members, and associates, how many people can I get to buy? How much money can I derive from it? These are basically the simple questions that you have to ask as a wedding photographer to see whether this idea can work, whether it can gain some market validation. These are the sorts of questions that you have to ask. Market validation in this case would be me, the wedding photographer, going out, talking to people, seeing how much sales I can get. And then after that, after I've done this for 3 months, 6 months, whatever, I'll now be able to say, self, it looks like this is a good idea, so let's go all in, let's raise investments, or let me quit my job, or whatever. That's how you validate the idea. Now, if on the other hand, what you're trying to do is something more of a Nairaland, where you get millions of people um, writing on the website, because like we said, we have 2.9 million signups, so let's just say 3 million. So if your idea is going to be they're going to have 3 million people providing resources on the website, and then you have even more people. Okay, we don't have the stats here for readers, so let me just guess that maybe they have 15 million people reading. Let's just make a wild guess, and please remember that this is a guess. So if those are your goals, to have a website where you have 3 million people writing and 15 million people reading these topics, then obviously you're not going to start making profit on this site from day one, because the whole point of this thing, or the dynamics rather, is that you're going to have, first of all, loads of people writing and contributing to this thing. That is what in turn makes it much more valuable to other people, and then other people are going to start coming to it so that they can read and get educated and then share. And that also in turn gives more value to the people who signed up as creators in the first place, and that gets them to produce more, and that makes it even more valuable and attracts more people, and on and on and on. So you can see the network effects. So for this kind of business model, what they're aiming for essentially is advertising revenue. And in fact, if you go to the website, you have strict instructions about how you're supposed to go about placing your adverts. We're not allowed to use our content to market ourselves and our services. So it's an advertising model, it's an advertising play. But in the early days, before the advertising came into the equation, it would have been how many people have signed up, how many people signed up last month, of the people that signed up, how many people are publishing every day, how many people are publishing every week, how many people are publishing every hour, whatever, and how many readers are we getting? How many readers did we get the last 15 minutes, the last hour, the last day, the last week, the last month? Those are the questions that they would have been asking themselves. So if the people who set up Nairaland did so in the first year, and at the end of the first year, you only had 500 people who are creating content, and then maybe only 150,000 who are reading, then that might not look like a good business idea because you spent a whole year and the best that you've done is a few hundred people writing and a few 100,000 people reading. If you want to have an advertising model where you're going to make money, you're not going to be able to make much money off of that. And that tells you that, okay, it's now time to kill this Nairaland idea and to move on to something else. So, for the Nairaland folks, it was all about traction. How quickly is this thing gaining popularity and how quickly is this thing growing? So, that is what we are looking for when it comes to traction. So, if you want to do things another way, let's say you want to build network effects, but this time around something that actually exists, around commodities, because the Nairaland idea is basically around content and around ideas. So some people will say that that is not concrete, and there are lots of people who don't go into businesses with vague or with vague ideas. So let's try and look for something much more concrete. So let's say you, like me, you finished from Obafemi Awolowo University, and you saw that there's lots of rice farming activities going on in Ondo, in Oshun, and in Kwara states. Those are states that are close to the. Do we say south in Nigeria? What do we say? Mm. I'm sorry about this, but the geopolitical terms seem to change every couple of years, every couple of 10 years or so. So I'm not sure what it's called now. But anyway, in the bottom half of the country, you notice there are some rural farming communities there, and you think you can set up a website or an app or an SMS, a smart messaging network or something that will connect farmers in Ondo, in Oshun, and in Kwara states to commodity traders in Lagos and Abuja. You think it's a viable service that if you hook these people up, that there's money to be made being an intermediary. So, if this is the idea that you're going to pursue, hooking up rice farmers in rural communities to institutional big players in the cities, then in the early days, progress is not going to be measured by how much sales you are making. Let me repeat. Progress is not going to be made by how much sales you are making. Because in fact, if you want to make sales in the early days, that would mean taking commissions off of farmers. And of course, farmers already have their own issues. They probably don't want to pay to another middleman, which is you. And institutional players are probably tired of paying fees and commissions and all sorts of stuff, especially on an idea that hasn't been tested. So if you want to start deriving profits at that stage, that might be a problem. So in the early days, you're going to have to be quiet about sales. You're going to have to put that whole thing about commissions and advertising and all that. All that will have to take it back. We'll have to sit on the bench for now. And instead of asking how much sales have you gotten, you're going to be asking yourselves how many farmers signed up today. How many farmers signed up last week? Where did the farmers come from? How many farmers did we get in Ondo? How many farmers did we get in Oshun? How many farmers did we get in Kwara? Or there might even be some surprising statistics that you meant it to be for farmers in Ondo, Oshun, or Kwara, but then you find out that maybe farmers are coming in from the northeastern part of the country or whatever. But basically, you're going to be monitoring the figures to see how many people are signing up. How quickly are they signing up? Is it 2 a day? Is it 100 a day? Is it a million a day? And how long do they remain in the network? Do people join this network? Excuse me. Do people join this network, spend 2 days, and then hop off, or do they come on the network and stay there for an average of maybe 8 or 9 months before you drop off? There's going to be a lot of work looking at the data, at the statistics that you have, to be able to gauge how much value people are deriving from the network. And so it is this level of activity, what we've been calling traction all along, which basically is the answer to the question, how quickly is this thing growing in popularity? How quickly is it gaining popularity? And from the traction that we get, that we're going to be able to determine, can we make money off of this? How much can we charge in commissions? Would an advertising play be more like it? What kind of value is being created by this network anyway, and how much of that value can we capture? So these are concrete examples around how we use traction to show that our business idea is viable and that it's worth spending much more time on. So with the level of detail that we've gone into so far, I hope I've been able to explain in a much more detailed fashion the difference between validating using sales and validating using traction, and with what kind of businesses and context much more appropriate to. So with that, I will sign off and say thank you very much for listening to episode 542 on how to validate your business ideas using Traction. Remember that you guys can ask me anything by sending me messages, text messages, or voice notes on Telegram or WhatsApp, and the number is 080 6466 2140 with the country code plus 234. Again, the country code for Nigeria plus 234, and the number is 080 6466 2140. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next recording, the next episode, and that should be episode 543. Yeah, that should be episode 543. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.